Hi, this is Michael with Peace and Favor, where we challenge you to become the best version of yourself. Thank you for taking time to watch the video. It's been a while since we talked, and life has been lifing. But I wanted to touch bases with everyone because at the beginning of the year, I encouraged you to handle your business. That was the one thing, one priority. Just handle your business. Not everybody else's business, your business. People were dreading the change that would be ushered in with the new administration. But more importantly, we needed to take a step back and consider the lessons learned from the election. I have a simple question for you. Given what you've learned, what are you going to do? All right? Given what you've learned, what are you going to do? But before you rush to action, before you answer the question, let me just paint some pictures here for you. When our ancestors arrived in this country, they were treated like beasts of burden instead of victims of forced immigration. That was a nice way of saying as opposed to being slaves on ships, okay, by the colonizers. Stripped of basic humanity, of dignity. They had no knowledge of the geography of where they were placed. This foreign country, foreign people, foreign language. They were violently introduced to their role in American society. Their first and only priority was just to survive. And these transplanted Africans and their offspring suffered through 12 generations of slavery, enduring the cruelest of conditions. Not just the physical beatings, the torture, the inhumane treatment of men, women, and children. Lack of education. Like it's literally illegal to educate a slave. Not allowed to have weapons. Just to defend yourself. Less than human. Okay, they're property. Then came the Civil War. After the Civil War, you're free, Emancipation Proclamation, you're free. But most people had never ventured off the property in which they worked. Free to do what? Where? How? All they knew was what they did for generations. All right? The earliest generations who had memories of what it was like to be in Africa, whatever country they were taken from, at least they had that to look back on. They had memories of home. The later generations only knew of being slaves where they were. That was all they knew. That was their role. That's what they were taught. That was what beat into them. Not only by the oppressors, but by their own family members, because the family members had to do their best to enable their young people to make it through adulthood and to make it through life. And so when you said you're free, it's like free to do what? And so those people had a decision to make. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so some gave the generic answer, I'm heading north. That's where, paradise is. That's where freedom is. Well, you're free. Then they headed north. And with all the money they had saved, didn't have, in the vehicles, be it the horses or whatever, they didn't have. If they were going somewhere, how were they going to go? Walk. Okay. What do you do? Maybe you would find someone who would underwrite your travel or passage, do some things together, but they're going to head north. Most of them, though, All they knew is where they were, and all the people they knew were right there, within a few miles of them. And so they chose to stay where they were. And they moved from, they said, rather than being a slave, they decided to be a sharecropper. Because the only work that was available was working the land that they were leaving. And the people who formerly had slaves, they needed workers. And so it's like, well, if you work my land, I'll give you a place to live. And now you have to pay me room and board and all of that, but I'll let you work it here, all right? And any excess money, I'll give it to you, okay? If you're above our cost, I'll go ahead and give that to you. And again, a reasonable, profit for me, but you'll have what's left. And so that's what the majority of people chose to do. And even to this day, people are still working under that system. Someone owns the land, someone else works it and gives the profits to the person that owns the land off of their labor. And then if there's anything left over after they've gotten their profits and everything for them, you can have what's left over. You can have a pittance that was created through your labor, your sweat and tears, your blood. But they had a decision to make. Do we go off into the unknown, or do we do something that we know, we're very familiar with? And most of them chose to stay where they were, in the area, okay? As free men, free women. However, living under the yoke of someone else still, just not chains, okay? It was legal yokes now, where you sign this agreement, and this is what we're going to do for the next year. And if you violate it, you can be in prison, okay? So that's what they chose. Others jumped on a train, walked, ran, got a horse, any way they could to get elsewhere. And what they found, one, is a big country, but there was plenty of opportunity too. And so they found relatives who lived elsewhere. Let me go and live with them, see if I can get a job there. And so depending on the individual, depending on the family, depending on the location, some people thrived in their new environment. But those who stayed in the South, they had to still remain under a very oppressive society. But that was their call. They're making the best decision they could. Again, they don't have education. Some of them could not read at all. Some had some level of education where they could read some words because it was necessary to do their job for, under slavery. Those trusted ones could read some. Some of the mulattoes, some of those who, some of the offspring of the master, they treated those kids a little bit better. But again, there were limited options for them. Here we are in 2025. And the new administration says that Black history is anti-American. That diversity, equity, inclusion, that's anti-American. And it's like, said it's divisive to talk about diversity. It's divisive to talk about equality. It's divisive to have inclusion. That's not really America. In light of that, you have to decide what you're going to do. Will you continue like 200 years ago, almost 200 years ago, when our brothers and sisters, our ancestors had to decide, what are we going to do now that we've been so-called free in this land of abundance? What are we going to do? Well, this time, we actually have options because most people of color are educated. We are aware of the land in which we live, the geography of it, the politics of it, our norms, cultures of it, the history of this country and our people in it. Financially, we're much better off. Much better off. Skill sets, highly skilled in numerous, or pretty much in every area. And so we actually have the ability, the freedom to make decisions based on our own well-being, as opposed to only choosing from a set of options that benefited those who were using our resources to enrich in their own lives. So, here in 2025, I ask you again, what are you going to do? Will you be upset with all the things that's going on and get out there and protest and, have your voice heard? Will you continue to try to convince people who despise you that you're worthy of love and acceptance and having what they have? Or will you just take a different path and build your own road, build your own business, take care of your family? Just because people build highways doesn't mean you have to drive on them. Just because they have huge universities doesn't mean you have to attend those universities. Just because there's a store down the street that has what you want, that doesn't keep you from having a different store that you go to get those products. You don't have to use, times have changed so much, and we have so much individually and as a people. And we got decisions to make. And I know that, and I expect, we're not gonna all, black people are not one people. Black is relative. That's something they just put on people, just like white. All white people are not the same. They don't come from the same place, they don't think the same way. Same thing with black people. We don't come from the same place, we don't think the same way. And so I don't expect for us as a group to all make one decision. That's why I start off by saying, think about your situation. What are you going to do? Hopefully you'll make some decisions that will benefit you, your offspring, and the generations to come. Because here at Peace and Favor, our challenge is for you to be the best version of yourself. And as always, in closing, God bless.